Ahmed, I'm very proud of the work that we've done here together, but Atlantic has done pretty good money-wise on my records, haven't they?
Yes, we've done very well, Ray.
Yeah, you were the ones that taught me that making a record is business and find the best business deal that you can. Now, 75 cents of every dollar and owning my own masters is a pretty damn good deal. Can you match it?
Ray, we would love to match it, but we just can't. And that's a better deal than Sinatra gets. I'm very proud of you.
Welcome to Money Unplugged. I'm Chris Hill. Thanks for being here. How you doing? You good? How are things at the gym? How's the walk going? Is the weather nice today? How did the vacation go this summer? The back to school stuff, is that going all right? I hope you're well. I'm good. Thanks for asking. A couple of days ago, I recorded an interview with Nick Majuli, author of the new book, The Wealth Ladder, which just hit the New York Times bestseller list. We had a really good conversation, and that is coming in September. But right now, we are halfway through ad-free August. And I am happy to say that the response so far has been nice and positive. So those of you who dropped an email to info@moneyunpluggedpod.com, those of you who posted comments on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, thank you. It is nice to see I'm not the only one who is a fan of money in movies. So thank you for that. Keep them coming. Now that we've talked about movies, let's talk about how money works in the music industry. Yeah, today we're going to talk about topics like your favorite song about money, behind the scenes stories about money in the music industry, songs that actually have good financial advice. And joining me in the conversation are Ross Anderson and Dan Messeca. They are certified financial planners, co-founders of the firm Craftwork Capital, and co-hosts of the excellent podcast, Check Your Balances. Every week they tackle a different topic in the world of investing and personal finance. And on top of all that, these guys are serious music aficionados. So let's get to it. I've had this long-held belief, and I think I'm validated, that of all the entertainment industries, the music industry, from a business standpoint, is by far the most crooked. It is historically the most crooked. It's probably less crooked today, in terms of screwing the artist. But do you think I'm right in that?
I think so. It certainly feels that way to me. And having not ever been a professional musician that's trying to, sign an album deal, I get the sense that there have been a lot of handshakes and money passing hands that takes people to the top, whether that's payola in radio, whether that's screwing over artists in their contract deals that leaves all of the money in the record label's hands and leaves the artist with basically nothing, even if the album does really well. So yeah, I think that there are really non-transparent things. And I think part of that is because of how complicated music is as an industry, because writing a song is one thing. That is a skill you get paid for. Performing a song is a different thing. Owning the rights to that song is a different thing. And you may have three different people in those roles. And then you've got the distribution folks. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that that music gets made, and it's a complicated art form. So I think there's a lot of spots that you can lose money in the process, especially if you're not paying attention, for sure.
No, it's a great point because there are a lot of moving parts. So thank you for bringing actual detail and nuance to this conversation where I was just making blanket statements. But Dan, I think about the movie industry and how there was, for most of the 20th century, the quote unquote studio system. And that begins to crumble in the late 60s, early 70s with independent films being made and sort of the rise. There are still major studios, but there are more outlets for artists than there are today than there were 50 years ago. It still seems like, yes, technically that's the case with music, but I don't know. It still seems like there are still these major entities that control most of everything.
Yeah, I think that's true. But today, more than ever, distribution is so much easier than it used to be. Whereas before, you had to print these physical albums, get them in the hands of people. And then the money has to go somewhere, right? It's not going into the pocket of the artist. It's being collected by a central place and then distributed. And you have to trust that they're doing it correctly. But today, you could just upload something to the internet, get it where you want it to be, and you control the method of distribution. So the upfront costs are much easier than they were before, when you had to go into a studio, find an engineer, have all this physical stuff. And now if I really were committed, I could record a whole album from where I'm sitting right here, get it out to the world with $0 of investments. And it's just a matter of how much help I want along the way.
When people say, like, why is such and such musical artist still touring at his age? Why is that band still touring? And it's like, because that's where they're making their money. And overwhelmingly, Ross, they don't have the rights to their own music.
Yeah, I think a lot of those early recording deals were probably unfavorable. And I mean, I find it fascinating, even the younger artists that are selling their music catalogs and watching that change hands. And, I think we talked about this a little bit on our show a couple of years ago, but when Taylor Swift sold all of her rights and then basically tried to devalue her own catalog by re-recording it, there's crazy stuff that goes on in the sale of music rights. And certainly, I think if you're an older musician that is still enjoying the road, that's one thing. And if you're doing it just because, like many of us, you got to get up and go to work in the morning, right? And even though that's a job we fantasize about, and we go, man, if I, as somebody that plays music or appreciates what they get to enjoy as an artist, I can look at that and go, you wouldn't even have to pay me to step on that stage. That would be amazing. But after you've done it probably 10,000 times, I think they're probably there for the paycheck every once in a while. And that's okay too. That's not against them to share their art and to want to be rewarded for it. So I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but it's a very fascinating dynamic of why are you up there? Is it just the money, or are you still enjoying the road and watching people respond and react and give you energy back because you're putting your thing out there?
Yeah. Is it B.B. King who has the great line, like, I do the shows for free. They pay me to travel.
I feel the same way, honestly. That's like to the extent that I still like DJ a little bit today is like, that's what you're paying me for. I love playing music for people. You're paying me to go through the logistics and moving all this crap around. That is absolutely the hard part.
I don't know if either of you have ever seen B.B. King live, but that is clearly true. He is a showman and clearly loved what he did.
I have not seen him live. It is one of the many holes in my musical live experience life. Let's get to some of the categories. And Dan, I'll start with you. What is your favorite song about money? And I feel free to throw in honorable mentions, because there are kind of like when I was talking with Bill Barker and Chris Harris about movies, and we had this realization, like, there are so many more movies that have money at the core of their plot than we thought. And there are so many songs that are about money in a big way.
Yeah, this was a hard one for me. There are a lot of honorable mentions. I think I'm going to go with Taxman by the Beatles, off of Revolver, if I'm not mistaken. Fantastic song, very, very specific. So me as a 10-year-old kid listening to George Harrison singing about the Taxman was very funny, only to learn that not so funny, pretty literate as to what he was going through with the taxes the Beatles were paying back then.
Wait, is that what set you on the path to a career in the financial industry?
I've never pieced it together, but it's very possible.
I feel like that's a puzzle piece.
Yeah.
Ross, what about you?
I agonized over this question because I knew this was going to come up of what's your favorite song. And I really feel like I've got multiple characters, and I always feel this tension inside me. On one hand, I'm going to give you two kind of middle of the road songs that are at like the barbells. But on one hand, I think about a song by like Zac Brown Band. They do a song called Homegrown that's basically about living in the country. He's got a line that I've got everything I need, nothing that I don't. And I just like love the sentiment of that, of just feeling contentment with what you have. And I think from a financial planning lens and what I do all day, if more people found that contentment and less desire, they'd just be so much happier. And then on the other hand, I listen to like a lot of rap music that is just complete flex on these people, throw your money around with reckless abandon music. And And I find I have both of those personalities, and I don't think that I'm reckless with money. I like fight against each other of like, where is that ego? And then where is that like squashing of the ego? I'm going to come down to a favorite song, which is Barenaked Ladies, If I Had $1 Million, which is just, I used to listen to that song. I worked in retail in high school, and I worked in an Eddie Bauer store, and it was on our rotation all the time. And that CD played every 70 minutes or whatever the playtime of a CD is. So walking around in the store, you probably hear that 6 times a day. And then they send you a new CD every month, and it was on every CD. So like just all the time we're listening to that song, fantasizing about having $1 million and all of the things that you would buy with it, which get increasingly silly as the song goes along. And then I tie it back to Morgan Housel's example that when people say that they want $1 million, they're fantasizing about spending $1 million. They're not fantasizing about having it. And so I just think of all these like weird through lines of money in my life. But the fantasy and then realizing what actually having $1 million is about is very, very different. But I'm going to say that's my favorite song about money.
Shout out to whoever at the Eddie Bauer Corporation figured out, oh, this is a fun song. It's in some ways a silly song, but it's a song about spending money. And we want people in our stores, we want customers to be in the mindset of spending money.
Yeah. What would you splurge on? Maybe it's a nice pair of khakis.
A fur coat, but not a real fur coat, because that's cruel.
Not a real green dress. That's cruel too. Yeah, no, that song lives rent-free in my head. I can sing along just about every lyric to it, I think.
Before we hit record, I made a comment that I thought Ross and I had zero musical overlap. We have just found it right here in If I Had $1 Million by
Barenaked Ladies. We found the overlap.
There it is.
Mine is actually a Christmas song. It is by the immortal Pearl Bailey, who wrote and recorded a song called 5 Pound Box of Money. And it's in some ways the most grown-up letter to Santa imaginable, because she sings about, look, Santa, this is what I want. I just want a 5 pound box of money. I'm not asking for much. This is going to make me think of you, but I'll also have something to pay my rent with. And it's like, just look, it's not a 10 pound box of money, just a 5 pound box of money.
You're not going to be greedy, Chris.
Right.
10 pounds would be crazy. 5 pounds, very reasonable ask.
Very reasonable. And let's face it, Santa's delivering things that are heavier than that. So come on. So yeah, right. Pearl Bailey, 5 pound box of money. Dan, let me go back to you, because we were talking before we started recording about VH1. And I don't even know if VH1 is still a television network on a cable system anywhere. It might be. But back when music videos were played and watched, VH1 had a couple of pretty creative series, one of which was called Behind the Music. And it would be an hour-long sort of mini bio or profile of a musical artist or a band, something like that. Invariably, money would make its way into the sort of the story of the artist. And the category here is sort of behind-the-scenes stories that involve money, whether it's an artist, an album, a particular song, a concert tour. But is there one that you think, oh, I like this story?
Yes. So I learned of one recently. I was watching the new documentary, Becoming Led Zeppelin. Fantastic documentary. And they were talking about once Led Zeppelin formed and were recording their first album, Jimmy Page basically paid for the production of the album out of pocket. He's like, we don't need to go to a studio. We're a great band, and I want the album to sound just like this. I don't want singles. Our songs are going to be 10 minutes long. They're not for the radio. They're for college radio, where they're going to play the whole thing. He was going to put the money up front and take the finished product and then market it to studios and places. And that gave them so much power and control when they were able to take it to market that set them up for success. Like, I don't think we would have had Led Zeppelin if they had to be funded by a studio to record that first album. There would have been, well, you need the 2.5 minute single. What do you expect us to play on the radio? I love that story. And I love just how confident they were in their vision, that they were willing to put all the money up front and then worry about it later.
I still haven't watched that documentary. Does that become an issue between the band members? Because where I thought you were going to go with that was like Jimmy Page paid for the whole thing and none of the other guys gave him a dime.
No, I think it didn't take it there, if that's where it went eventually. But I don't know. That's between them then.
Yeah. Ross, what about you?
I'm not probably as big into the documentaries as Dan is, but I think about in the biopic Bohemian Rhapsody when they're working on releasing Bohemian Rhapsody, the song, and that they wanted a radio hit. And they're like, yeah, we're going to put out this 6-minute long orchestral sounding thing with crazy voices and what a weird hit. Like if you listen to, I think I've got some nostalgia for it because of like Wayne's World and how it presented probably for the first time that I ever heard it. But that's a weird song for a radio hit. So I think the fighting to get that done is maybe what sticks out in my mind is like art and commerce are constantly fighting. And I think that's a spot where the art won.
That's a great point. And I think that, every once in a while you will, get served up an Instagram reel or something like that, where it's a producer or a musical artist talking about another musical artist. And the story is basically, we knew this song was going to be a hit. Because there are those songs where it's like, oh, this is absolutely going to be the hit song on this album. But there are plenty of misses too. There are times where it's like, I really thought this was going to be bigger. And the point you just made, like, it's so delightful when there are these sort of hit songs that come out of nowhere. And I think there's a lot of luck involved. And sometimes the luck, way back in the day was there's a popular late night DJ who just happens to love this song. It's the third cut off the album and they just keep playing it until it gains traction. And in the case of Wayne's World, it's we want this song to be involved in this scene, in this movie. And it just the movie becomes a hit and it gives rebirth to the song.
Yeah. So I found this story really interesting. Shakira told this story on a late night show that when she recorded Hips Don't Lie, the album had already been pressed.
Really?
Literally, the physical CDs were already done. And she calls the record label and she's like, pull them. We have a hit song. This is going, I promise you, throw those away or whatever they did with the actual physical media. Get rid of that. This has to be released as part of the album. We're re-releasing this. And can you, in a digital world where everything's going to Spotify or Apple Music or wherever, no big deal. It's so easy to re-release a single at this point. But when physical media, to know and have that level of conviction to go, yeah, throw all that crap out. We don't care. This has to be released because this is what's going to make the album. That's a stunning story to me when I think about how music gets released.
That's surprised amazing. They did that.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm surprised they did that in part because I think at that point in her career, she's kind of a star on the rise. She's not at the height of her powers. You could hear a story like that and it's like, and this is what Taylor Swift did in 2022 or, that kind of thing. Or, Bruce Springsteen with his track record. It's like, okay, I understand that. The fact that the label and the producers were like, no, we're actually going to eat this cost because we think it's worth it. That's amazing.
It's amazing. And it's also, I think, a testament to how cheap CDs were to actually produce. That was an incredible era during for record labels in that era, because music used to be very expensive to produce. Vinyl was expensive. I think tapes were reasonably expensive. Distribution is probably still expensive in many ways, but CDs were so quick and cheap to press that I think that they were just printing money. I don't think you eat that cost if it's a bunch of vinyl records. So I do think that there was maybe a little bit of a right time, right place to make that call. And then obviously a lot of trust there that she knew what she was talking about.
So mine is befitting my age. I'm going way back to the 1970s here. This is very early in James Taylor's career. He's recording his second album. Warner Brothers gave him $20,000 to record the album. And they said, hey, when you deliver the album, we'll give you another $20,000. And this is something I've heard other artists talk about. Billy Joel has told stories similar to this, where it's like early in their career, They've got enough traction that the record label is like, no, we don't want you touring. We want you, and we don't want you sitting at home writing songs. We want you in the studio. We want the next album, pushing. And so that's happening to James Taylor. And so the album is Sweet Baby James, and it's arguably his best album. Like, it's made a couple of those like best 500 albums of all time lists, that sort of thing. It's got early hits like Fire and Rain and Country Road. But you look at that album and it's clear that young James Taylor is running out of songs. Like, one of the songs on the album is a cover of Oh Susanna, and it's less than 2 minutes, and it's like he's kind of grasping at straws at the end. He's also borderline homeless at this point, and he needs the money, and he needs one more song, and he doesn't have it. What he does have is he has 3 fragments of songs. He has 3 separate incomplete songs. And so what he does is he takes those 3 fragments and he puts them together into a suite. And that's the last song on the album. And the name of the song is Suite for 20G. And it's like, here's the song, here's the album, pay me my money.
It's done. You didn't say anything about how well it was done. Yeah. Go ahead and send that out. We're gonna take our money now.
Is there a song that you think this is actually good financial advice? I mean, this is your business. Like, you and Dan, you guys are financial planners. Like, if you put out a CD, I imagine it's like 10 songs and they're all bangers, but also they all have good financial advice.
Again, I listen to a lot of like hip hop, and I was trying to think, because there's so many money references in hip hop. Like, it's comical how much money gets talked about. Because hip hop is in so many ways competitive, right? It's born out of rap battling, and how do I know that I'm better than you? Well, I sold more albums than you. And so there's a lot of like boasting, and it's just kind of part of it. But I've always been a Jay-Z fan. He's got a song called 30 something that I think he's trying to basically tell young rappers how much further ahead he is and like how much smarter he is with money. And so he's got, and by the way, this is not a family-friendly song. So if you're listening to this and you're going to go look the song up, that's my disclaimer.
Yeah, you've been warned.
Yeah, you've been warned. But he's got a line in it where he's like, I don't buy out the bar. I bought the night spot. I bought the chain of nightclubs. I'm not out spending money at the bar. I bought the place where you're going to spend your money. And like, the whole song is kind of all of these, like, part of the chorus is, now I got black cards, good credit and such, baby boy, because I'm all grown up. Right. So it's like still a silly song, and it's still got a lot of flexing in it. But the way that he's doing it, he keeps talking about fairly advanced money things of like, yeah, no, I'm not out wasting my money. I didn't put on a watch that's got a bunch of bling on it. I've just got a good watch. I clearly know more about it. I've bought a nice timepiece, right? And I love the through line of like, yeah, I'm still better than you, but I'm so much better than you that now I'm not even wasting all this money that I'm making. I'm doing smart stuff with it. And I thought that was a really funny reference point.
I love that. I love that it's not, my jewelry's bigger and brighter than yours. It's, dude, my credit score is 710.
So good. My credit's amazing. What are you doing? You're out buying drinks for people? Oh, buy yourself some investment property. Buy a nightclub. Let's go. This is stupid.
Dan, what about you?
My mind also went to Jay-Z.
Did it really?
It did.
Oh, no.
No, but different. My Jay-Z knowledge is pretty shallow, but I do remember in one song he raps, "I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman." And just thinking of yourself and marketing yourself instead of just thinking yourself in like a narrow lane, I think is really good advice. And I think that's in part why people like him and Dr. Dre and Kiss, to give a throwback, are so successful, because they're not just thinking of themselves as like living in this narrow corner. They're like, how can I use my talents and my brand to get ahead in areas beyond making music? And Jay-Z does it with the best of them.
Everyone you just mentioned, Dan, they go into meetings with potential partners knowing the full value of what they bring to the table. And their attitude is, tell me what you're going to do for me, because I know what I bring to the table. What do you bring to the table?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, leverage is what you want in life. And if you can come to the table with leverage, then everyone's pitching you instead of you needing to advocate for yourself all the time.
I went smaller, at least in terms of dollars. I'm going to go with Thrift Shop by Macklemore. I have 3 older children, and watching them and their peer groups, their respective love affairs with thrift shops, it's like Macklemore's advice has completely worn off an entire generation. Just the whole idea of like, no, you're not going to impress someone because your clothes are expensive. Impress someone because, you've got your own personality, your own style, and don't spend $50 on a t-shirt. Don't do it, like, literally, don't spend $50 on a t-shirt. Go to a thrift shop. But get yourself some bargains.
If that's the generation that's coming up, does that spell doom for all of the luxury brands in the world? I think that's an interesting question. If we actually think that advice is permeated through a generation, what does that say for the people selling the $50 t-shirt or more, quite frankly? But I think that might be an interesting investing thesis to stretch that out as far as you can go and say, are these people in trouble?
There you go. That was part 1 of our conversation. Next week, we'll have part 2, which includes things like songs that offer bad financial advice, musical artists who are brilliant when it comes to business and money, and a lot more. I'm Chris Hill. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next week.